Good evening, internets. It's me, DP Knudten, and it's time for another edition of Bookward Bound, my 301-day journey from I should really do this to done. And what is that done? That done is the creation of a brand new book by January 1st of 2021 called Nonfiction Brand, Discover, Craft, and Communicate the Completely True, Completely You brand you already are. That's the cover right there, which I've already designed. In fact, it was one of the very first things I worked on for this book because, you got to see it to believe it or be it. Well, I had to see that to believe that I was actually going to be writing a book. And I have been successfully for, let's see, I was just doing the math, 259 days consecutively, which means I only have 42 days left to go in this journey. See, the way it worked out was I got back from social media marketing world in March, the first week of March 2020. And after a couple of days of digesting all I had learned, I decided to go live on Friday, March 5th of 2020 with a live stream where I would work on the book. The idea was that I would take every single day until the end of the year, which from Friday, March 5th to December 31st was 301 days. I was going to do a live stream every single day for 301 days. At least that was the big, hairy, audacious goal I set for myself. And so far, believe it or not, I've kept up for it. I've kept doing it, with the exception of 2 nights where I was really sick with, of all things, Lyme disease. Yeah, a tick-borne disease. I caught it while I was solo backpacking, and what do you know? Anyway, that's all over. I'm all done, but I'm still working on the book. In fact, the book is pretty much written. Now it's about polishing. If I love to use analogy and metaphor to explain more difficult concepts. So let's just say I've built this house, drywall, all the way framing, all that stuff. Now it's a question of paint and tile and flooring and a ton of other finish level details, the finished carpentry, if you will, to create this book and actually get it ready for publication on January 1st, 2021. That's the day I'm going to upload the final press ready files to Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform, where I will be creating this self-published book. Yeah, it's a crazy goal, but it's one that's actually working. In fact, I had hoped the book would be about 250 pages. It's looking like it's going to be more like 270-ish or so. So I'm really digging that in a big time. So tonight, what am I doing? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Actually, I think I do know. I think I'm going to look at the very tail end of the book, which you can see over here in Scrivener. Down here, you've got the main window where you do all the writing, and then over here, these are all the sections, and I'm going to get my head out of the way so you can see down here at the very bottom, I've got a section called My Favorite Follows, and I think I want to look at that and see if there are any other people I want to add to this. Pivot and profit use. There are a lot of ways people learn. Some take classes, others seek out experts. Me, I watch others. All of the people mentioned in this book are living, breathing examples of everything I've written about here, and experts, thought leaders, and just plain fantastic folks that I cannot recommend to your social media feeds enough. The things I've learned from them are legion, and if any of them are not currently on your radar, please rectify that situation immediately. But there are a few others I'd like to bring to your attention in addition to those who made the book. While all of them are active in many different places, I've listed them here and mentioned the channel that I think they do best, or that, in my humble opinion, I prefer. Rather than list current channel handles and at usernames that could change at any time. I've elected to identify them by their most personal of personal branding descriptors, their actual name. And frankly, that's a best practice I'd like to heartily recommend to you. It's really hard to build a personal brand based on an anonymous pseudonym. And if you feel one is necessary, maybe personal branding isn't for you. So, in no certain order or priority, here are a few wonderful people and top-tier personal brands I'd like to introduce you to. Neil, I talk about. Mark Schaefer, I talk about. Well, let's leave Neil in there. Smart passive income. This list just began. A lot of the obvious big names are not included because quite frankly, they don't need my. But out of all the stuff I follow, these folks make my top must follow cut. I hope you'll check them out and see what they have to offer. Never reach to any of them. Hope you'll DP sent you. Bear. Neil Schaefer. Talk about him. what do we call it? It's not a convention. What is annual event? All right, so I may add to this as I go through the book. All right, so copyright page has all that numbers and stuff. Contact DP. Trademark item. Blah, blah, blah. Dedication. Anna Claire and Julia. Daughters. Contents. I am not a fiction writer. Not hard to figure out which one. Just look up again. But for now, let's maintain the fig leaf of anonymity by where I worked is not important, what I learned. It all started one ordinary day when I received a creative brief for a print ad. A creative brief is a multi-page document labored over by an earnest, diligent account manager who has worked out the details of a given project with the client. And in general, the creative brief is something frequently ignored by the creatives assigned to the project. I, as the designated copywriter, did exactly that. Ignore the vast majority of the creative brief, but focus brief. Period. But I focused with hawk-like intensity on the copy points it contained. Again, for those fortunate enough never to crack the seal on a creative brief, copy points were the rubber hits the road facts, specifications, and messages the client wished to convey via the selected advertising channel. And in this case, the copy points were very terse, shallow, and simple, and entirely unsatisfying. Write some stuff. That's the only copy point I saw, because it's the only copy point listed and pissed. So I grabbed my copy of the creative brief, marched down the hall to the moron account manager who scribbled the brief to have a conversation about its complete lack of specificity and clarity. The first words out of my mouth were direct and a little bit salty. Dude, what the hell is this? That interrogative was immediately followed by the words making up the title of the section of the book. Why? Because when it comes to writing advertising marketing copy, I have absolutely no problem with buffing a turd to a high gloss. But said turd needs to be based on an inalterable foundation, the truth. At the end of the day, everything turned out fine. I did indeed write some stuff. The client signed off on the ad with no great problem or concern, and all were happy except me. I am not a fiction writer. That's not to say I couldn't write fiction if I wanted, which, thank the stars, you do not have to be exposed to. But if I'm writing ad copy, it's got to have at least a scintilla of truth about it. But this incident really got me thinking for something like 22 years. If I'm not a fiction writer, what am I? That's a good question, one worth a couple of decades of pondering. And so I have. What I realized is that I am, in fact, a nonfiction writer. But my internal realization didn't stop there. It began extending itself to the larger topic of branding, eventually leading to the writing of the book you're holding right now. If I've learned only one thing over the term of my career that I will take to my grave and scream all the way there, it's this. Branding is all about simplicity, and simplicity is hard. Let that. But worry not, gentle brander. I'm going to walk you through this thicket of complexity, sharing what little I've learned over the years in such a way that you'll fling this book down when finished and yell, well, that's pretty darn obvious. Because that's the way truth works. Initially obscure, then immediately recognizable when illuminated by even the weak. And that's the way nonfiction works, and the way nonfiction branding too. It's all the way nonfiction. That's the way. And nonfiction branding does too. This book is my hard-earned philosophy recorded for posterity. Hopefully you'll be able to get something out of it, especially the motivation to put yourself out there, to reclaim what is entirely yours, to claim and fully own, proudly own what is entirely yours, and to help make our shared world just a little bit better place to live. How? By sharing your unique voice and demonstrating exactly who you are, what you do, and how you do it via your completely true, completely you personal brand. Regardless of age, regardless of position, regardless of the business we happen to be, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies. Me. To be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer. Tom Peters. As a young copywriter working in the bowels of a small agency in Denver, Colorado, I was deeply curious working in the bowels of a small agency in Denver, Colorado. I was deeply curious about the rapidly growing Wild West convergence of high tech, the World Wide Web, internet, still young as a newly minted and what is now known as disruptive entrepreneurship. Starting in the mid-1990s, things were getting really interesting, and two print publications were at the center of the maelstrom, Wired and Fast Company. I can still remember reading the first issue of Wired cover to cover and understanding maybe every fourth word or so, since I was not a business guy or software coder. But I was fascinated by smart stuff then as now, and this stuff was crazy cool. So I made it a point to grab the circulating copies of both of those magazines whenever they crossed my desk and proceeded to read them from cover to cover too. I kind of like this. Dang, I kind of like this. This is, I'm kind of getting kind of excited because here's the thing. You sit here, you write a book, you think you're doing your best work, You're trying to do your best work, but you're second guessing yourself the entire time. And the thing is, I wrote this stuff maybe 4 months ago, maybe 6 months ago. I don't know. And I haven't thought about it since. So here I am. I'm reading it again as a first-time reader. And I'm going, this is pretty well written. And that's not me tooting my own horn. It's me reading something going, okay, this makes sense. It's got flow. It's not stumbly. And I'm kind of getting excited because yesterday I was feeling like, oh, I'll be honest with you. I was feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome going, God, what do I know? Well, the fact is, what I know is what I have learned since, when did I start my career? Like 1990? So that was 30 years ago, maybe? Something like 1990. Anyway, just under 30 years, let's say. And so what do I know? I know 30 years of hard-won knowledge. And my knowledge may be different than someone else's, but it's mine. And that's what I have to share. And consequently, so that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing that of which I know. No one can take away, and people can quibble with some of the things I say, but no one can quibble with the fact that I actually earned this knowledge the hard way. I did not go to school for marketing. I didn't go to school for copywriting. I didn't go to school for anything other than theater. I didn't even finish my Master of Fine Arts program in acting at the University of Southern California for a lot of reasons. But let's just say everything I've done in my career, I am absolutely 100% not qualified to do. And yet I've done it successfully for 30 years. And this is not a fake it till you make it thing. It's a do it and prove it thing. I've done it and I've proved it for over 30 years, and now I'm sharing it in this book. And I'm kind of excited that this book is actually coming out the way I hoped it would, which is, yes, it's clearly coming from my voice. It's me testifying for myself. And that's actually a demonstration of what this book is about. Really, it's about knowing who you are so you can be it. And this book is 100% who I am. And you may not like it, but I'm okay with that because I'm okay with being who I am. And you should be okay with being who you are. And that's the point of the book. And I'm so excited that this book, as I start reading it again, go, this is actually what I want it to be. This is what I set out to do. And I'm kind of thrilled right now. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of thrilled. So, especially given the fact that right now, I'm going to do a quick word count on this thing. Let's see. Scrivener down at the bottom does a word count. So I highlighted the whole book. It's up over 75,000 words, which is great. Not too long. In fact, I was just looking at Mark Schaefer's book, Marketing Rebellion, and my estimate on that is it's about 75,000 words. So I'm in good company, and I'm actually kind of thrilled. So anyway, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of November into December. I hope to be able to get a hard copy of the book, a proof copy of the book, sometime in December, so I can go through it and literally get out the pen and mark things like, oh, it's too close over here, I need to move the margins in, or things like that, and really, really edit it very, very closely. Because in a perfect world, I would hire an editor to do this. This is not a perfect world. I do not have unlimited funds. I have more time than money. I've got 3 daughters, 2 in college, another one's on their way. I don't have the funds to hire someone to go through this and play editor versus author. Instead, I'm going to be the editor and author trying to do the right thing for this book. And the thing about this book that I kind of love, to be honest, is every single bit of it is mine. The cover design is mine. The format is mine. Every single word in here is mine. The only thing that's not mine are the extended quotes from the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which is my podcast. that I've had guests on, and those guests have shared their wisdom, and so I'm grabbing their wisdom and inserting it into the book and giving them full credit. So the goal there is that they get value from being included in the book, and my book gets value from having them included in it. Do you see that mutual quid pro quo, that you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours? That's part of the strategy of the book, and it's also demonstrating one of the key strategies of this book too, which is invite others to your party, and then you get credit for throwing a great party, even though they bring their own meat and beer. You know, I love to say, who gets credit for throwing a great party, even if it's a bring your own beer and, you know, throw your own meat on the grill party? The person who throws the party. You didn't have to supply every single damn thing about it, but you get the reputation as, oh, they're a really great person, they throw a really great party, and they were really fun because they asked me questions and let me demonstrate my wisdom. That's what this book is about, and I'm thrilled, just in the brief reading I've done so far, that it appears to be coming out very, very clearly. So this is Friday night on a long week, so I'm not going to spend any more time on this, but I will be back here tomorrow night. And so I invite you to join me then, because I'll be honest with you, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be getting this done. I like to call you guys my peer pressure posse, because that's why I threw out that big thing on March 5th saying, hey, I'm going to be doing this. I knew that I could write a book a little bit at a time over 301 days if I actually came down here to work on the book every night for 301 days. You guys have kept me honest and have made me keep my promise to myself to get this done. So I thank you very, very much for that. And by the way, that in itself is a huge thing that I actually should write about. I need to write a section. Hold on. I need to add a section here about, what do I want to say? 301 days done. That's what we're going to call this section. I'm just going to start this on Friday, March 5th, 20. I made myself and a non-existent online audience a promise. That I would be uploading press ready PDF files this book to Sons Kindle Direct Publishing platform. In order to self-publish new book or. And I'll write more about this tomorrow night, but so I'm going to give that a yellow flag. You can't see it. Get my head out of the way. Change icon to yellow flag. Cool. So there. That's, by the time I'm done writing this, it's going to be another 4 pages or so. Great. because as I go through and cut out some stuff, I might take out entire sections if I don't like them. Whatever. It's going to be around 250 pages, maybe 270 pages, which is fantastic. 200, and I should say 6x9 inch book, just this size. Same size as my first book, Rotoma, The ROI of Social Media Top of Mind. This was 214 pages, which when I gave this to somebody, they said, oh my God, this is a real book. It's like, yeah, it's a real book. This is not, even though it's self-published, it's not one of those crappy 99-page books that someone craps out in order to have a book to sell to people at the end of their presentations. This is a real book that is going to have everything I have to offer crammed into it hugely. So, boom. I'm going to tell that story at the very end of the book, leading into my outro, which is very cool. So, anyway, it's time for me to say goodnight. So I'm going to say goodnight. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which comes out every single Monday. In fact, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be editing episode 118 with Mike Alton that will be coming out on Monday. So check that out wherever you get your fine podcasts for free. And just look for Nonfiction Brand and my picture in black and white. If you see that kind of center section on the cover, that is the cover art for the podcast, and you'll know you've got the right thing. If you like it, give it a thumbs up like. Subscribe to it, refer it to other people, but most of all, can you do me a solid and actually review the podcast wherever you get it? Because that helps other people find it. That's it for me tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. But until then, theme music. Take us on out. I'll see you tomorrow.